Today I'm going to tell you about the evolution of the automotive design. It all started at the end of the 19th century, when the combustion engine was created. At first, the car was something like a motorized carriage. So the car looked like carriages. Later on, the cars had more things, and they started to evolve into something new. I'm going to show you the picture now. They now required lights, a grille. Some of them had a retractable roof. However, back in the day, people did not know how to increase the power. So the only thing that they could do is to increase the displacement of the engine, basically making the engine bigger. That started in the 1920s. Cars also became a lot more slick. In the 1930s, car manufacturers started experimenting with aerodynamics to increase fuel efficiency. Here's a perfect example as the Chrysler Airflow. It was a very unique car back then. However, it had one problem. People thought that it was ugly because it was unusual. In the 1940s, car evolution stopped. Had a big pause because of the Second World War. So they had to... What's so funny? So they had to utilize something that they already had. After the World War, car manufacturers had a big lack of materials. So cars became a lot smaller. Here is the example of the quite popular one, the BMW Isetta.
It's so cute.
Yes, I know. It also has a handle like a fridge.
No, really.
Yes. And not only BMW, many other manufacturers. Even the plane manufacturer Messerschmitt had to make their own microcar. Most of them were powered by motorcycle engine.
So it was about actually power performance of the car. They were not really fast, not really...
No, it was the economy and use as less materials as you can.
Yes.
This was mainly in Europe, mainly Italy and Germany. In the 1950s, the Americans got very rich. So their cars got very, very big.
Yeah.
Some of them were gigantic. And they started utilizing plane-inspired designs. Like this 1950s actually no, they got first they got more round. No, at the end, at the end of the 50s.
Mhm.
First, they got really round and more aerodynamic.
Mhm.
Then they started adding wings, actual wings.
Oh, really?
As seen in this Cadillac Eldorado.
Oh,
It had the biggest ones.
it's gorgeous.
Yes, it was.
Mhm.
In the 1960s, American cars got square.
Mhm.
They became quite edgy. However, they were still very big.
Mhm.
Well, the Europeans had to still use small cars.
Mhm.
Not the micro cars, but just small, normal sized cars.
Mhm. Let's see.
This is a 1954-64 Lincoln Continental.
Yeah, I see low clearance.
It's just an example.
Mhm.
It wasn't being like that.
I see.
It had a normal height. And in the 1970s, the gas crisis came. So they had to make something smaller and a lot more fuel efficient.
Mhm.
And they also had a big lack of power. As seen in this Ford Pinto, 1970 Ford Pinto,
Mhm.
which actually had a huge design flaw.
Oh, which one?
Well, you see, its gas tank
Mhm.
was placed exactly between the rear axle
Mm.
and the rear bumper. So if the car hits it
Oh.
on the back,
Mhm.
it may damage the tank,
Oh God.
and
Boom.
it will and it will set on fire.
Oh my God.
And Ford actually thought that it will cost them less to pay off the accidents than actually fix the car. They were wrong.
Yeah.
They were very wrong. And the 1980s era came,
Mhm.
and it was great. Basically, one of the greatest eras of automotive history.
Mhm.
Because this is the time when designs became very unusual and cars became very unique.
Mhm.
Like this 1980s icon, the Lamborghini Countach. The most iconic car of this era. Which also introduced such thing as the scissor doors. They open upwards.
Ah, yeah, I saw this in movies.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Later they actually became so unbearable that even Lamborghini stopped using them. But people actually fitted them on their cars to look cool.
Yeah.
It looked stupid. Very stupid.
And it's good for parking.
Sort of. But it makes car heavy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They actually had to do this in order to fit it. You see, the car had an engine in the middle and a lot of the space were compromised.
Mm.
So they had to fit the front door this way.
I see.
Also, it looked cool.
Yes, it did. Mhm. Just give one more minute, okay?
And the 90s came. The 90s were basically the futuristic era. Cars started to become very, very round, like soap.
Oh.
And actually, not this one. Actually, they later in the 90s became more round. This is a third generation Ford Taurus, and it's very round. Even the interior was very round. But not all manufacturers felt like that. Japanese manufacturer made one of the prettiest cars of all time, such as the Mazda RX-7.
Looks sleek.
Very sleek. It also had a unique engine. It, instead of using normal piston, it had to use rotors. It's hard to explain right now.
I saw the explanation yesterday. My electrical engineering students gave a short presentation about this kind of engine.
Wankel engine.
Yeah.
So later the safety requirements got very hard, and manufacturer had to get rid of the such cool things as the pop-out headlights.
Like this one.
Yes,
Up and
as
down.
you've seen just on Mazda RX-7.
I see.
Unfortunately, it got discontinued. But I can show the example of a car that didn't got discontinued but had to be fitted with normal headlights. The Acura NSX. Here it is. Many people think that it looked better with pop-out headlights.
Yeah, I agree. Right, and just some conclusion, okay?
And cars, and in later 2000s, cars got very heavy.
Oh.
Because of all those safety requirements.
Absolutely.
They almost had the airbags, hardened roofs so they won't bend. And in 2012, cars started to become more edgy, cutting edge, and started to look more futuristic. Not a fan of that, because it kind of does not fit the car's personality. Like, for example, the Hyundai Elantra. It's not fast, not at all. It's an economy car, but they made it look like it's fast. It's kind of
fake. Looks like fake.
It looks stupid for what it is.
All right.
That is it.
Okay. Thank you very much.